Hello, I'm here. I hope that you're all ready and excited for your art journal, and you can use them and make them really pretty. But you probably saw this photograph. So I was practicing out ideas. I've always journaled and written, but to be able to combine ideas and words and pictures, because I learn something every time I do it. I can process my ideas, my emotions. I can save magazine pieces that give me ideas. So I am here both as your advisor on art journaling, but also as a beginner in art journaling, because I would say I've only been really using my art journals for maybe the last 2 years. And what happens if you just scribble? Let's see what happens if we just scribble. I'm going to take you over to my desk today, and I have a mount. First, about old book revival. You can take an old book, add gesso to it, and start adding your artwork on the old pages. And it's as much as you want. Like you can see, I put gesso over it, and you can still see it's a really vintage kid's storybook. So this is for old book revival. Any old book will do. Let me show you these old books. Look at this. I think this is funny. An introduction to sets, probability, and hypothesis testing. I never ever thought for a moment I would need math to study, so instead I'm doing my hypothesis on what happens if I make marks in random abstract form. My spaghetti book is for black and white. See, I even marked to remind myself what happens when I just add in only going to use black and white and shades of gray. Oops, that one's sticking together. That one was a mess. But you can see I was writing in it first. Jennifer wants to know what you add to the pages first. Gesso. And my favorite is the Liquitex Professional Gesso, because I use it also as a white paint. But yeah, so I just add a little layer of gesso on it. So you can see that I've coated a little bit of the gesso just to mute the pages a little bit before I add in I haven't gone far enough in this. Anyhow, so my art journal's just been a big, messy, fun joy. I'll put anything in it that really sparks my interest. I don't have rules about my art journals. So there we go. I'm gonna go ahead and just clip this open, and I'll talk to you about some of those ideas. So I love these little clips. You can get them on Amazon, you can get them at Target. If I'm gonna use gesso, I'm just gonna put a little bit on, and I love to roll it out. So I like to just use I have to move this out of the way a little bit. And I don't gesso every time, but sometimes I like to gesso because it gives it a really cool texture. I like to gesso in the old books because with the old books, those pages are a little weaker. And gesso just kind of gives you that sturdiness. This is my trick with gesso. Have more than one old book open or page open at a time, and do several of them. But also, look at that. I just used, instead of using a brush, I ended up using my brayer because it just rolls it out. It leaves kind of a cool texture, and I don't have to wash my brayer. I just roll it off on a piece of paper and leave it to dry and let that build up. I also do this. See, there you go. So simple solution is get your blow dryer out, and then work on it. It's still a little sticky, but I can. So, by the way, happy Juneteenth. We are privileged to be celebrating this, become more aware of the fact that this is a holiday worth celebrating. I have been reading my favorite author, which is Maya Angelou. I've loved her since a teenager. I've read most of her books, so I haven't stopped thinking about George Floyd. Oh, the whole long list of names. So for me, this is my process. This is my emotions. Some things it's not my place to be saying publicly. So if I can write my feelings, then I can process them. Because I don't know what to say publicly all the time. I can say things that are politically motivated or emotionally motivated. My opinion isn't always something that needs to be heard, but my emotions are so ripe for all of this. So what if you used art journaling to process these ideas? Wear masks, here we go. We can just make that into an exclamation. I don't know if you're reading this, but these are all the things that are on my mind. So it's maybe also time to celebrate our differences and our similarities. Like, what is the same? What is the same for all of us is our love for family and our neighbor and our friends and our want and desire to live and be happy. That's the same for all of us. Finding joy and being respected and being loved. We all carry those feelings. So when you know that's how you feel, and the more you dive into your own personal experiences, the more you can maybe have empathy for everybody else. So I feel like our art journals are a great place to deal with sadness and questions and frustrations. Then we can take our brushes. I'm going to just go for a bright, crazy orange color because it's not one that I use very often. But I love that it's transparent. So now I can just add to that mess there, that beauty. I'm going to put another orange down, and now we're going to start building layers. And I want to put white in with it. And see, there's no rules. I've got my ideas underneath, buried in here, and it starts becoming part of my journaling process. I'm going to put just a drop of black. I feel like if I do black and then I let this dry, it's going to be really interesting. This is total spontaneity right now, by the way. This was not planned. I'm like, woo! But look, it's interesting. It's different. And how do I dry it? All right. I love to be able to just dry it really quick. Some people don't do that, but I do. But I want to show you. I'm going to try and get this closer so that you can see what happens when you use the brayer. Look at the texture that happened because it scratched through. So you can see all those layers starting to happen. And this is just like so rich in texture and beautiful. It may, as a painting, it may not work, but what it's doing is informing me of ideas of layers and textures. I'm just putting a few of my favorite colors down now. Quinacridone magenta, primary magenta. These are all my favorites. We'll keep that orange nearby, and I think we're going to need yellow. Let's try this. This is going to be crazy because this will give us a contrast, but I'm going to have to let it dry. A little bit of Prussian blue. And then I'm going to take my smaller brush. So I'm going to kind of mark off some. I want to keep things abstract. People have been encouraging me to continue abstract. So I'm just scribbling out shapes and ideas and composition. What I like about doing this, you can see, is that it's not really going to have to hold me to any one thing. But that'll give me some motion and movement. So play with your layers and your shapes and your colors. If you're upset, put a big streak of red. I've done that before. Just scratch it right in there. Black. Maybe you need white because you need lightness in your life. I don't know. I'm playing with ideas here, but let's be honest. We all have our thing. I'm going to do this one more time, obnoxious as it is. Ooh, that gets really good and hot. I have to do that, otherwise I'm not going to be able to do this next layer because it'll pick up that blue and make purple, which is not what I'm trying to do right now. I'm just trying to play with these different colors and kind of get some shapes going, filling in that space there. And look, this is one thing that I love. Look at how that dark is still kind of showing through. I love that. That's quinacridone magenta. This is primary magenta. This one is pyrrole orange, which is a really interesting orange. It almost looks fluorescent, but it's a good strong pigment. Here's some things that you can tell. Its transparency is how much of those black stripes come through. Light fastness, this one says it's not applicable. I don't know why. This one's a light fastness 1. So when you have a light fastness 1, that means that the sun can shine on it. It's not going to fade it real fast, but it's very transparent as well. So each of these will show you its transparency and how light fast it is. A 1 is always the best. But, you know, there's certain colors that aren't as light fast as others. But I do love, I love that orange. And then this one's a primary yellow. And I'm going to just kind of start adding in more color. I've got this little teeny brush. I'm going to switch over. Maybe an abstract floral today. I think that's what we're working on. I'm going to make my favorite coral color, which is primary red, primary yellow, and white. Do you see how I mix that? It's like right up at the top of your screen, I'm sorry. And that way I can get in here and start making more. I'm holding my brush at the very end. I'm actually standing on a stool too, so I can see what you're doing and kind of get further away from my artwork. My goal right now is to keep it loose and not really overthink what any of it means. So I just want to be free with it. And one of my biggest problems is that sometimes I get similar sizes of everything going, so I gotta keep it free and loose. This is the primary magenta, and it'll just give me a nice pink, and I can just kind of keep working this idea of some sort of a floral. And I want to like give brush strokes that aren't even. How about a little more yellow? I'm gonna keep adding a few more layers, and then when this dries, and I think the next thing I'm gonna do will really make it change. What's gonna happen? There's your opposite on the color wheel. So if we have mostly oranges here, some reds and pinks, but orange is a very dominant color in this. So my thought process is, I love that blue, but I don't want a pure blue. So I'm going to take some orange, mix it in with the blue, and it's going to start muting it a little bit. I think I need a little bit more. There we go. And then I'm going to add some white. A lot of white. And then I get this beautiful grayed out blue. Opposites will tone down so it's not too pure. And I still feel like I need a lot more white because it's going to look really dark. And I don't want it to be perfect. I just want to get in here and just like give you a little bit of a taste of I wanted to come in here with some yellow into that blue and make it a little bit more green, just so that I can have a couple areas to like change it just a little bit. I don't want much. Let me get my other brush. Now I'm going to kind of blend it just a little. I don't know if I liked that color though. I'll be honest with you, I kind of just liked the teal better. So this is my solution. I'm not going to take it off completely, but I am going to wipe it down just a little. And look at how weird and cool that texture is. See, serendipity. I always call that serendipity, when you don't have a plan and you just do something anyway. There we go. So let's come in with see how that kind of makes them pop. Remember, all my emotions are underneath this, so if you spend a little bit of time art journaling every day, what's it gonna do for your well-being? Because this really was the point of this conversation today, right? Is art journaling for your mental well-being. I need more white, because now that's mixed with blue and I didn't want to do that. I get messy with my stuff. Here we go. There's some more white. Remember, Liquitex Professional Gesso, not the basics, not the cheap one. Buy the more expensive one. Take your coupon to Michael's. Buy it on dickblick.com. It's more affordable that way. Liquitex Professional Gesso. It's not only your gesso to start your base, but it's your white for just about everything, unless you need a really heavy body white. I love it. And I think I need more of these little round brushes because I've been using them more and more. So I'm going to come in here and kind of make sure that I'm getting this variation. I've been struggling with this idea of abstraction. It's so challenging, you know. Here's another thing. Make sure that you have I love to be able to use different ways of mark making. These are my favorite. Everyone's seen them a million times. I'm going to have a t-shirt made with this design on it. Old Bay tin with Stabilo woodies. But look, now it's giving it more dimension and a different look. So I'd like to just come in and scribble. I have some colors in here that aren't my usual. Look, this blue is definitely a push for me. I'm going to put a little bit more. I like that blue there, but I want to push it back a little bit. Look at that. Now our value's changing just a little bit in a couple areas. That's a good thing to do. I think you get the idea. With this one's been a lot of fun to just kind of play and make our marks. So here are some more of my marks that need to be made to kind of pull your eye through the whole thing. Look at how just a few little marks can make all the difference in the world. Do I want some white? Look at how messy this page is, and yet at the same time how yummy it is. I love that feeling of just making all these crazy marks, and it feels like so therapeutic. Well, we started with white and black. Oh, we started with white, then orange, then black. So the colors I had were black, blue, yellow, orange, red, magenta, turquoise. So we're going to count black, so that's 6. I love to limit my palette because I feel like it makes a bigger impact, and when you learn how to mix them all together, you're going to end up with a more interesting composition that's more harmonious. What I want to do before we end today is show you one of my handmade art journals for those of you who loved the layered page. So you're basically taking a giant layered page, right, on both sides, and then you fold it until it becomes a beautiful accordion art journal. But what do you do with this accordion art journal? You get to put a cover on it. But I wanted to show you how you can turn it into your own statement piece. So I made this about the time that I was really feeling like women needed more empowerment, and I found a great magazine that just had women from all over the world, all different races, all different cultures and backgrounds. Nevertheless, she persisted. Dare greatly, lead boldly. This is so much fun because I just took art collage pieces, stamps, my own jelly prints, my own mark making, and made this really cool book. You've come this far for a reason. So all these I printed out. So talk about experiencing or expressing your emotions. I turned each of these women into goddesses with kind of like a ring around them. And I wrote down all of these and printed them out so that I could just cut them and put them in here. We won't be distracted by comparison if we are captivated with purpose. What a cool idea. So put your favorite quotes. Talk about emotional, memorable, and then look, this is it. You turn it around and then you can keep going. Above all, be the heroine in your own life. So this was a really fun project to do. So what do you think? Art journaling, small scale, when you don't have time to make something bigger. Get over the idea of perfectionism and creating the perfect masterpiece, and just create the art in order to express yourself. That's the important part. You were given this life because you are strong enough to live it. Look, I love being able to save all my favorite things in here. So there we go. So thank you for joining me. Go make more art, and especially art journaling, and hold me accountable that I'm going to fill these dang things up by the end of the year. All right? Bye.